abstract meals. How about you, Veronica?
So for me, it was actually thinking a lot, because I was like, wait a second, I turned in my project, you know, all that stuff going on in the back of my head. But it was perfect. It was perfect that you had me do the Eagle story, because I've been working on not being embarrassed or just letting it flow, and considering it to be a gift, to be able to be silly, and that it's okay if I don't do something perfectly. And I felt comfortable with that, because I know that, you know, in previous situations that have been frozen. But it's definitely showing that I'm transforming through this process. I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, I think it's great. You kept talking, but your photo got frozen, so it's it wasn't you this time. It was great.
Thank you.
Bonnie?
It was good. It was kind of just practical logistics. I mean, I was just driving home and picked up a couple groceries and charging my phone and just trying to get things taken care of. So I guess not super deep, but pretty practical, just getting things done.
Anything from this morning that stands out for you?
I'm still contemplating, like, which practices or things you know are like kind of stabilizing. I mean, more looking at my strong wings and weak wings, you know, and yeah, I mean, one thing I forgot to mention, I think, but that impacted me earlier was, you know, I'm pretty clear on the distinctions, but it was the energy, right? Like when Claudette was coaching me, like it was her enthusiasm, her getting excited about it, her, you know, I think I learned something from that. But then also, you know, as I'm driving home and stuff, what I'm kind of thinking about is looking at my own strong wings, weak wings, looking at, you know, what's working for me and what's not working, and trying to make sense of that.
Yeah, the enthusiasm I think is critical, and for me, the source of that enthusiasm is having a genuine interest in the person. I'm really interested in this person. This person is a brand new entity for me, and how they put it together is very interesting to me. I'm fascinated about how people put it together. But I'm talking about their thinking. How do they get to step number 5 from step number 4, 3, 2, 1? It just amazes me sometimes. And the stories that they have behind each one of those steps. It almost reminds me, you remember the movie The Millionaire? The Indian kid who was being on the guest show.
Oh, Slumdog Millionaire.
That one.
Yeah.
And every answer that he had been triggered by was triggered by an experience that there's no way in the world people could have come up with the story behind how he knew the answer to those things. That's what interests me so much about people. And so when they speak, I'm like, no kidding. That happened. It's like, how in the world? Who would have put that together? So I'm inviting you to be interested in people. You know, you become a facilitator for them for something to show up that they don't even think is important. And all of a sudden you make what they're saying important. What Claudette was doing was acknowledging that they had a talent, which they just take for granted. That there's, yeah. So I invite you to be with people like that. This training is definitely not a me focus. It's over there you focused. Okay? And because it becomes a you focus, everybody else is listening in on it because it could be because their story is in there also. That's why sometimes you say, I'm talking to this person. but I'm talking to just one person, but I'm actually talking to all of you. So you answer the question for yourself while I'm talking to this person. Okay. Any thoughts behind that?
No, it's very true. It's really allowing people to discover within themselves and having that conversation to connect with them. Somehow we're all connected and making sure that we're doing this work, and that's why it's sacred work, to make a difference with people and making a difference in our community.
What I hear in that is that, well, that's the difference. The difference is that in the conversation, something can be discovered and they can discover something for themselves. It's not a teacher that's teaching them. It's not this, that it's a space where a conversation and they can see something for themselves that makes a difference.
I love that you just used the word space, Dickie, because what I'm present to is, and Ade, you said it's the focus is on the other, and when I'm caught up in my head about I gotta do this right, I gotta, like that there's some right way of doing it, and that if I get too concerned with myself, I cannot be with the other person, and that really to do the work I have to observe myself doing that and set it aside so I can be the space for the other person. Like I have to bring my observer to their process, but I can only do that if I'm clear about my process.
Okay, the way to say it. You mean some more?
But maybe not.
Huh?
Maybe not.
What do you mean?
Maybe she doesn't have to get clear on her process.
Okay.
Maybe all she has to do is, she does that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's her strong wing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Maybe just get committed to listening to the person in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Both voices at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to what the person is saying and not saying and how that person is being, there's no way you could be focused on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the focus then shows up as what are you listening to and where are you listening from?
Could it really be something like Green Dot, that you're focused on that person and all of your thoughts are going on, really continue to focus, and that person is the Green Dot for you?
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing is that that listening from are distinct, that how is what they're saying showing up, that gives the conversation, instead of just following it everywhere. It's listening from so that it can be anchored. I don't want to say anchored to something, but that it can be tangible to something to move the conversation forward. Instead of having all the right answers, it's I'm listening from the Eagle story and what they're sharing. How does that, where does that show up and move that conversation? I'm interested in that having what they're sharing be clarified so that it creates workability for us in the conversation.
It's a lot of words, but I tell you, for me, the whole training is in one distinction. And that distinction is that thoughts give rise to action.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about having people become aware that what they're saying to themselves is creating their reality, their world. And so all of these things from that point is exemplifying that particular distinction. And in on every level and every domain, that is what exists. And they cannot, And they get to practice that for 3 days or 4 days, however long they're with us. And we get to practice mapping it on to that. Instead, in many ways, it's the eagle story, it's the deep waters, it's the weak wing, it's the strong wing, all of it is the common denominator for all of it is what you say matters. That creates your life. And so at any moment, people can have a breakthrough because the observer can pop into view that will shift their life forever. Which is what I'm saying to myself really matters here. What I'm saying to myself that made me say that something out loud really matters. It's not that it's the out loud can matter, but it's what I said to myself that had me say out loud something to somebody. That's the power. That's the transformation we're looking for. Can we turn what is usually an outside in experience into an inside out experience?
Wow, that was profound today.
Okay, that was good. That's why we have Claudette sitting here, because a lot of this stuff is transparent to me, and she is breaking it down so that you can see the moves. Almost got the moves.
And one thing I want to say is that I know that I'm guilty of trying to get it right and focusing so much on that I miss the cues that someone may be giving to be able to have them have a breakthrough. So I'm more concerned about getting the content right instead of making the connection and not hearing those cues.
Yeah.
If I had more time, the question I would have asked you when you were that kid, after you spoke about your home, I would have asked one question, but then I would have flipped it. I would have asked you, who is it that you really are angry with at home? And then I would have asked if you could have it be some other way at home, how would it be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they gave me the cue. They gave me the cue when they started talking about the mother and the father arguing and the mother beating people, and they gave me, when they mentioned something, that's them giving me permission to enter into whatever they said, versus me going, what happens at home? They kept giving me the cue for me to talk about where they were leading me.
By the way, it's not my home life, just saying.
No, I'm talking about the kid.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Just saying. Anyway, yeah.
No, I didn't think you were doing transfer.
Yeah, no, I know.
Mm-hmm. I think your parents are a little too old for that, Kyle. She says it's not her home night. Her fathers and mother, I think they're a little too old for that. That kind of energy to be fighting like that. Okay, it's on you.
Did Bonnie want to say anything? Is that what you're saying? You turn the thing upside down?
No, I was trying to get the mute button. No, I already talked, man. I already said. So I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, everything you said made sense. It's good.
So our next conversation that we want to bring forward in front of you is the one of distinguishing the player-coach relationship, which we call roles in the game. We'll send you the outline of that conversation, but right now we just want to discuss it and take a look at it. We call it roles in the game, and we enter into that conversation to distinguish the roles by asking people if they know about the basketball game, if they know about a sports game, and in particular the basketball game. We've done other games, but it just seems that the basketball one is easier to get to. And so the question we ask is, who comes to the game? That elicits that elicits many people to speak up, because now, in particular, there's professional women's basketball as well as professional men's basketball. So people are looking at it from all angles, and it's a worldwide game. Well, let's say they play in a lot of countries. They bring a lot of people from other countries into America to play the game. So who comes to the game is, you can get a lot of people, a lot of different functions, because that's what you're really looking for, is the functions in the game. And so so name some of those people. Name some of those functions that occur at a basketball game.
Coach.
Yep. Keep it going.
Players, the fans.
Cheerleaders.
Yep.
Referees.
Vendors.
Yep.
Camera guy.
Mascots.
Fans.
Camera.
Oh, the camera guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Fans.
Yep.
Reporters.
Yep.
The other team.
Yep.
Yeah. Vendors, hot dog salespeople.
Yes. Yeah.
The medic.
Yeah, medic, yeah. Referees.
Yes. Now, when you look at, and there's more than that, right? I mean, you could really spend some time getting all the participants in a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Media, you can add to it. The owners, you can add to it to make it big, so they can see the entire thing. Now, the next question though is, who is essential for the game to happen? Which roles are essential? That would be whom?
The players.
Yes.
And the other team.
Yes.
The coach.
Yes.
Referees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you may have to qualify it and say you're just not talking about a playground game. You're talking about a professional sports game. Or, yeah, a professional game. So who else you could see?
Scorekeepers.
The referee would be important.
Yeah. Scorekeepers.
Yeah.
Timekeeper.
Yeah. The timekeeper, scorekeeper. Now, those are the essential roles in the game. Now, the next question is, what is the job, given the role, what is the job of each one of these essential roles? But we're going to just take two at this point, the player and the coach. What's the job of the player?
To win.
Yeah, okay, I want you to get the question, though. You know the answer. What's the job of the player? How does the player get the job done? And where does the player play? Now
He plays on the court, and
Yeah.
he wins by putting in baskets, or she putting in baskets,
yes.
and defending from the other team to score.
And what?
And defending to ensure the other team does not score.
Okay, now, is that's good, Nikki. And have you ever seen a basketball game played where it was very little, if no defense? No blocking the other. You've never seen that? Uh-huh.
A lot of scoring.
Yeah. You ever watched the All-Star game? All-Star basketball game. The score, Yeah, the score turns out to be like 150 to 140. Okay, I mean a ridiculous amount of baskets. And in that, would you say that there was any defense?
Any defense?
Yeah, any defense. The other team. The score is 150, 170 to 150. You can see that there's very little defense.
Right.
I don't know. You know basketball?
You said 150 to 140 or 150 to 40?
150 to 140. So you'd have to watch an all-star game to see that, okay? And you then see that the defense was not part of the game.
What?
All there was.
They played very aggressive offense. Very, very aggressive offense. They're not focused. They've got the ball, get around it, but they're go, how do I score? How do I score? How do I score? They're very aggressive on the offense. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially, the way to get the job done, which is to do what? What's the job of
score
baskets?
No. That's the way. That's the way you get the job done. What's the job?
To win.
To win. So the way you win is to score baskets.
Yeah.
Who scores the most baskets is the team that wins.
Right.
Clear? So I'm saying that the idea to defend the other team, to keep the other team from scoring, that could be in it, but there's some strategies that you don't even pay attention to that. You just score. And then the question is, where do the players play? And they play on the court. And then the same questions for the coach. What's the job of the coach?
To win.
And what's the strategy of the coach? What's the way that the job gets done?
To give the players feedback about how they're playing.
Okay, that's kind of a cerebral answer, but what would they say in basketball? What would that look?
Win.
Yeah, without using the word coach, what do they do to win?
They talk to their players.
Yes. What kind of way do they talk to their players?
They
with young people in the room, you're gonna get some different kind of answers. So knowing something about basketball would be useful. Watching a basketball game and listening to the language that they use in a basketball game would put you in the realm of talking about basketball. If you hear me, what I'm saying. So you to have a conversation about basketball and you don't know the language. Okay? So if you listen to like a sports, a show that talks about the game, and they will say what was the coach doing, and they would say the coach was revving them up, motivating them, was sticking it to them. You hear what I'm saying? They would use different language so that you could use language that they would get that you understood basketball. So therefore, I invite you to look at a basketball game or two.
That's a great invitation to go see the Warriors.
Oh, yes. Why not? We're in the hometown of the champion, the world champions. Yes. And it would be great to know names of basketball players that you could throw out in talking about basketball. Somebody say LeBron James, or somebody say Steph Curry. Yeah. You know, it would be great to know that. Most people know Jordan, and most people know that. I don't know if you know. Bonnie, you looking, you know, are you
I
familiar?
used to have some Air Jordans, man. I know Jordan.
Great. Great. And then there's the same questions for the referee. What's the job of the referee? That's a question.
To enforce the rules.
And what else? That's another way you can say that.
To make sure they're playing by the rules.
Yes. What's another way you can say that?
Call the game.
The what?
Don't they just calling the game? They call the penalties and.
Okay, now that's the way they referee.
Okay.
Yeah. Another way you could say it is to make sure everybody plays fair.
Yeah.
Follow the rules, play by the rules, play fair, like that. All of those are acceptable. Now, what's the way that the ref gets the job done?
Blows the whistle when people are out of bounds.
Okay, so you can now say they use a whistle.
Yeah.
Yes. What else? What is another way they get the job done?
They observe what's going on.
Okay, that's not the way they would say it, though, Patty. What would they say? Yeah, what's the way they get the job done? So basketball terms for you are going to be important, so they know you can relate to basketball. What's another way that they get the job done?
You watch the game.
They use symbols. They use symbols to demonstrate where the rules are being broken. So I forget all the different.
Double dribble. Yeah.
Double dribble.
Yeah, foul.
Did you say symbols or signals?
Signals.
Signals, yes. So they got many hand signals. Yes, exactly. They got signals. And who are they giving those signals to?
To the players and to the coach and to everybody.
They're the refs.
Those signals are important for who? That's great. Yes,
For the players.
They blow the whistle so the player knows something has occurred that stops the game.
Yeah.
Then they give the signal. Who is the signal for?
The players.
Well, no, for the audience and the timekeeper and to control the game. Stop clock. For the audience to know what the foul was for.
In particular, the scorekeeper, the person who's keeping the score. That person who's keeping how many fouls, all of that.
That's the statistic.
Statistician.
The statistician,
not the time,
and the scorekeeper.
They work together.
Yeah, they work together, and so they need to know. They need to keep track of how many fouls. They need to keep track of the time. They need to keep track. Was it a 3-point basket? Was that a 3-pointer? Did the basket count or not before the foul? After? You following me? So when you watch the game, look at that stuff closely because it's all going on to have the game, to track it.
I don't think they track time.
Well, they track time.
Yeah. The shot clock. You have a shot clock, and when you're
right.
Yeah, but they don't track that.
No, but they communicate to the timekeeper to say stop the clock or reset the clock, and
yeah, but
that's what I'm talking about. The timekeeper is tracking it, not the referee.
Right.
I'm not talking about
communicating to the
right. But that's the way they keep the yes.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, is there anything else? Now, once that's clear, you got a question of, let me see, where do we go? Would the player listen to the referee for coaching? Would the player go to the referee for coaching? I think that's the question.
No, they would not.
Now, how come?
Because the ref is not necessarily going to help them, and the coach is going to help them.
But the ref knows the game at least as good as the coach does. How come they wouldn't go to the ref for coaching?
Because the referee is only there to be able to just say this is or this isn't. I'm trying to find the words for it, but they're not aiming for them to win. They're just explaining the game, how it works. So they're not looking to see how they can help this player to win. So they're not giving them instructions of what to do.
Yes.
To be able to win.
The key word in what you just said is what word?
Win.
We don't coach them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you can draw a connection here. What's the job of the ref? The job of the ref is to
make sure the game is being played by the rules.
Yes. Now does that connect with the job of the player? The job of the player is to what?
Win.
And the job and so who has the same job?
The opponent.
But we haven't talked about an opponent yet. Okay. All we did was talk about player, coach, and ref. So
okay.
They don't have opponent is not in the conversation yet.
So the player and the coach have the same goal, to win.
Exactly. Now, the same job, same goal, same job. You could say that. Now, since they have the same job, can they talk? You can see the connection because they have the same purpose, the same job, the same goal. It makes sense. How come the player would go to the coach? Because the coach has an investment in winning. Does the referee have an investment in winning?
No.
No.
You can see that. So that's how come the player wouldn't go to the ref. The ref could care less. Unless and then they're going to come up. Usually somebody in the room is going to say how some referees are biased. All right, are not calling it fair so that the other team wins. So particularly in the home games, they're all home games, but particularly the ref can be biased toward the home team. Like the home team has the advantage because it's in their house and the ref is in their house. You have to watch the game to see that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know basketball, it's hard to tell you. But kids who know the game, they can tell you that it looks like it's a biased referee at a home game for the home team. So you'd have to take them back but the ref is really there for the game to be played fair, according to the rules, no matter what team you're on. So they could dispute that with you. And then there are other sports that you've seen where the referee is clearly has a favorite.
Can't see. That's American football.
Okay. Yeah. So you can have a lot of fun in this conversation with the sports buffs, with kids who know. You can get them engaged in this conversation very easily. Now the question comes down to, okay, so you can see the job of the player is to win, the job of the coach is to win, the job of the ref is to see that the game is played by the rules. So in this game called Bright Futures, who are you in the room? Who would you be? Would you be the ref? Would you be the coach? Would you be the player? What position, talking to the young people, what role are you playing in this game that we're creating?
The player.
Players.
And what role would the mentors be playing in this game?
Coach.
And what role would me as a course leader be playing in this game?
The referee.
Aha, that's very good. So, is that accurate?
I think you're also a coach.
Or a trainer, or getting us prepared for the game, or. Like
I think you are invested in the player winning.
Yeah, you can see that, right? So you'd have to look and say, well, what's the job of the course leader here? Is it to see that you play fair? Is it to see that you win the game? What's the job? So if that hasn't been, and this will be a moment to bring out what the job of the trainer is to win, and what is the way the trainer gets to win, gets the player to win the game, gets the coach to win the game, is to train. Okay, let me not use the same word. Give them new moves to make, new things that they can do on the court, new tools to communicate, new practices off the court. That's the job. That's the way the trainer gets the job done.
Most trainers aren't at the game. So they'll see our day, or they'll see somebody, other people as the trainer. And the trainer normally isn't at the game because the trainer is in a teaching mode and the game is in a playing mode. So and I think in Bright Futures, I don't know if you collapse them, but the trainers are not the coaches. The coaches
I don't think we usually even talk about the trainers. So this is kind of new.
Right. Yeah.
So the people who facilitate the sessions are the trainers. Distinct from the coaches, because the coach is there as the young person is playing the game.
Now, that takes us back to the way the coach gets the job done, which I kind of brushed over. I talked about motivating them. But there are other things that the coach does, which is important to bring out for the young people and the mentors. But the mentors to get this in the mentor training, but this is good for the young people to get it so that they can look to see what they can depend on the mentor for. Now, this is interesting because I don't know, I don't know exactly what your mentors do and you're there, I don't. I'm always thinking what the mentors.
So why don't you tell us the structure of your program so we could speak to that.
Patty, do you want to share?
Sure. So the program that we have, we have coaches, which the youth meet with the coach every week to focus on goals.
And that's the staff.
That is staff, although we could have another conversation about that whole process. Mentors.
No, tell me the whole conversation.
So I don't really know that the people who are doing coaching have been trained to coach.
Correct.
Particularly the junior staff. But the structure is that youth meet with their coach once a week to work on their goals, make movements on their goals, and the mentors are there just to support. So mentors can be coaches, but their primary role is to support. And
what does that mean, to support?
Yeah.
It means to listen and to encourage and to share their journey. So as the mentors are learning the distinctions, they're having conversations with the youth about the distinctions and how they're each using them in their lives.
Okay.
So
Can I add?
So how? Go ahead.
Yeah.
So we just did the mentor trainings, and when we did roles of the game, we distinguished that their role as mentors, they are players and opponents in their own lives, that they are going to get a coach, which is the small group leader, that they are coaches to the youth, and that the staff are also coaches. And the difference between coaching in basketball and coaching in Bright Futures, that your role as a coach is to share from your experience to be listening to them, a committed listening to the players, and to share your breakthroughs or things that are opening up to them.
This is what I'm hearing you saying. There's the young person as the player, there's the mentor as the junior coach, and the staff as the senior coach.
There you go. That would be, yes, that would be it. That's
And
my understanding.
I can hear that because I was listening from the distinctions of basketball. And I had to place what you were saying somewhere. That's listening from always. We were talking about basketball. I could have gone all around the corner with you, but I'm like, how does this fit in basketball? So that's how I got to hear that so quickly, because I'm not listening for everything you're saying. I'm like, how does this fit into what we have already established?
So
I have one more question.
So let me just say, in basketball, it would be an assistant coach.
Okay, an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So who facilitates the Saturdays?
Say more about Saturdays.
Or the community meetings, who facilitate that?
That could be a staff member from Bright Futures, or it could be Lizette.
So when it's a staff person from Bright Futures, that person functions in two roles: senior coach and trainer. Okay, I got the structure.
This year they're also looking, they've considered to have.
I didn't understand you, I'm sorry.
There's also looking for this year, they're looking to have all of us, when Lizette is not there, for one of us to lead the conversations.
So you guys are the trainers, the course leaders are the trainers.
Yes.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah, that's because right now the two people they have, did they replace Hilda as yet?
No.
No.
So is Hilda still with Bright Futures?
Yes.
Yes.
And she's directing Abby as the point person, and Hilda's going to be supporting Abby.
Although Hilda has a bigger role, so less of her time is directed to Bright Futures now.
So who's going to be in the school?
Abby,
Hilda's still at the school.
Go ahead.
Hilda will still be at the school, and Abby at one site, and then Abby's at the other site, and then either Blanca or Mariela will be at those two sites as well. So it's a senior, it's either, it's a senior person, we're calling Abby a senior person, but she's still relatively new. But we have a senior person at each site and a junior person at each site.
I got that now. And okay, so so I just want you to be clear that the training that we're giving you, although you'll be the ones leading the community services, will not be useful there because we're training you for the residential. Remember I said that in our first, in the pre-conversation, that there are other sessions. So I know you're getting trained in the beingness of the course leaders, but when you go to lead the sessions, Lizette or somebody will have to be your trainers to lead the material, else you'll wing that.
That's what I'm imagining.
We are inviting you to become as competent in leading the sessions after the residential as you are being trained to lead the conversations in the residential.
What will be good for you in leading the sessions, your being of course leaders will be present. Like the being, the environment, what it is to be a course leader, to step in the room and everyone knows, game just shift, trainers in the room. So that's the being. When you walk in the room, everyone knows the trainer's in the room, not another person in the room. And being trained by us and the practices you have will give you that kind of being. You know, when our day walks in the room, you know it's a different room. When I walk in the room, you know it's a different room. So that's who you guys will become. When you walk in a room, it's a different room. When Lizette walks in the room, it's a different room. Like that. So you got, so great. Let's go back to the
Training.
So we distinguish trainer, coach, player, and referee.
And now we're being clear in the room who's who. So these relationships are getting aligned so that we know, so that people know who to go to for what, or who's going to come to them for what.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear. Now the question can go.
Okay, so I want to see if they are clear. So in the course room, who's the trainer?
Course leaders.
And let's say we're at your camp,
Mm-hmm.
or any course room. Who would that be? Let's say we're at your camp. Who would that be?
A day, Lisette.
And you in different moments.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are assistant trainers or whatever.
Trainers in
Training.
Training.
Trainers in training.
They are the coaches. And at camp, there are two levels of coaches there, aren't there? They're the small group leaders. Yes?
Yes.
And they're coaches. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes.
They would be senior coaches.
And then they have mentors in their group, yes? Mm-hmm. But that's the coaching body.
And so the mentors would be the assistant coaches.
Yeah, so that's the coaching body. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on the camp, then you have the referee. Who would that be?
That would be the person in the back of the room, the course manager. Wouldn't it be?
Why? Tell me what a course manager does in your city.
Vicki, you want to go over that?
Huh?
I mean, I can't.
No, Vicki, give your best shot.
Good question.
The course manager. The course manager is responsible for every aspect of the residential intensive.
And so just given what you said, would the course manager come into the course room and see something out of place and correct it?
No. Would that be the production manager? I'm sorry.
So the production manager deals with people or things?
Deals with people in the
production manager? The production manager deals with people?
Mm-mm.
No.
No. Production manager deals with things. Chairs, name tags, books, pens, flip chart paper, water,
music,
sound equipment.
The participation manager deals.
That's it. I'm sorry.
That's why I think the participation.
That's why I was saying that.
Yeah.
It's the participation manager is the referee.
But
Thank you. That's what I know.
Yes.
so I'm not clear that there's anybody in the program who plays the role of referee, because the referee is impartial as to who wins, and I think everybody in our program.
The referee is impartial to who wins, and in this game, there's one team. The job of the referee, again, as you guys distinguished it, was
Play fair.
Make sure the play is fair.
Play by the rules.
By the rules.
That's right, and that the room is safe.
So in the case of the room, what do we substitute for the word rule?
Agreed.
Huh?
Conditions of winning.
Right.
Right. So who's ensuring that happens?
Bubba.
Huh?
No,
Bubba.
Participation manager.
Participation manager.
Right.
They're the ones that says not everybody's in the room. They're in their seat on time. They're back from break on time.
But they do more than that. They keep their eye on the room. They see if somebody's sleeping, if somebody's talking. They manage the flow in and out the room. Make sure that 99% of people are on the court and one is out for the bathroom. They manage that everybody's playing the game according to the conditions of winning.
Yes.
If somebody's having a breakdown, they get them out of the room. They ask a coach or a junior coach to go out the room with them and clear them. So to like go to the locker room with this player, clear them and bring them back. That's the participation manager.
Also, is tracking who is speaking, so that at some point the course leaders can find out from the participation manager
who's been participating or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the referee is the participation is the referee, and the purpose of the referee is to make sure that people play by the rules and it's safe for everyone.
I could see Lisa's face. I just couldn't remember the name. That's so funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. You can see Tavo now coaching Lisa. Was she the participation manager last year?
Yes.
Yeah. All coaching her to have eyes in the back of her head to be aware of all of those things, all of the movement going on, so that it was safe and people were engaged or brought around to be engaged.
And the course room is wherever the young people are, and that's where the participation, they're the first ones to say good morning to them. They're the last ones to put them to bed, say good night to them. They're there at the exercise, on the run. They manage in participation.
You can see how closely the participation manager and the course leader get to work together.
Actually, in the old system, you had to have been a small group leader and a participation manager before you get trained, and to be on the production team to be trained as a course leader, so you could own the entire thing. Who has not been a participation manager? Raise your hand if you have not. Raise your hand. Thank you. Raise your hand if you have been a small group leader. If you have been a small group leader. Okay. So,
Well, one other. Raise your hand if you've been production. Been on production.
So I've been at production at Landmark, but not at Bright Futures. So it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But but I have some experience.
Yeah, so for this course coming up, I would recommend that one of you be the participation man. One of the three women, you've been it already, Dickie, be the participation manager. Because the participation manager has one focus only, and that's the young people. And you get to know them, and yeah. So that I would really recommend that. Who's been the small group leader coach before?
Small group leader manager?
Yeah, the small group leader manager. Okay.
Oh, not at camp. I've had that role during the year, but not at camp.
No, at camp. At camp.
Just
You've been the small group leader manager at camp?
Dickie.
Dickie?
And Dickie, yeah.
So then I would recommend Patty, you've been the participation manager, Vicki? You be the
Vicki, you're muted.
Oh, I can remember.
Right. So if you were you definitely.
I've been a small group leader manager. I've been a small group leader. And last time I was the like safety of watching the kids that were possibly at high risk. So I did that last year.
What does that mean? You played a therapist?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
So I think this year, this is my recommendation at this point, is that Vicki be the participation manager, and Patty, you be the small group leader manager, and she be the therapist. She looks for the kids at risk. Bonnie be the lookout for the kids. And what do you do when you find the kids at risk? What do you do with them? I mean, Bonnie, no, Veronica, Victoria. What do you, after you identify the kids at risk, what do you do with them?
What we normally do is we'll pull them to one side and have a conversation with them to be able to prepare them to go back into the course room. So having conversation regarding what.
Oh, that's definitely Bonnie. That's Bonnie.
So I would be happy to do that. And actually a couple times I've helped with that, like only during certain exercises where we know kids run out and stuff. But I also want to call out that I'm also going to be a small group leader again this year. So I don't know if there's going to be any conflict there.
How come you're gonna be a small group leader?
Because from what I understood, there wasn't any conflict between the two at camp.
There wasn't what?
That there wasn't any conflict. Here, I'll plug in my headset so you can hear me better. I'm just charging my phone. So my understanding was that there wasn't any conflict because, you know, the times when the small group leaders are leading group activities are separate from the times that the course leaders are leading. So I don't think that those two conflict, and there is also a need for small group leaders. But I don't know if there'd be a conflict between being a small group leader and being the high risk person all the time. It might be too many things to juggle. That's my concern.
Okay, so, but that's my recommendation, and then you guys can do what you want to do, or what your city needs to do. But that would be my recommendation inside of your training development.
I think it might be possible, like I could probably be the small group leader that's stationed closest to the door, because the small group leader doesn't have to be in the room 100% of the time, you know? Mostly at the beginning and ending of sessions, we need to be there, and then during certain activities. So it's possible, but I think I'll talk through it with a day and see what we come up with.
Patty, what were you going to say?
I think Corinne has an expectation that she'll be the small group leader at camp because she is filling that role.
She'd be the small group leader manager?
Sorry, small group leader manager, yes.
Okay.
As is I think Lisa is also at participation manager.
Who?
Patty, do you remember who that is this year?
Who?
Or who was originally going to do that? Because I know that those have been pretty much assigned at the beginning of the school year.
Who are you speaking to?
Patty.
I don't know who is assigned as participation manager this year. I know that Hilda and Abby are already working on that and have already made those requests. I'm pretty clear that Corinne has the expectation that she'll be the small group leader manager at camp because she's
okay. Well, then would you be the at-risk person?
Sure.
Okay. Then, yeah. Then you don't have to double up. Can you throw your name in the hat? No. Yeah, that's right. Can you throw your
yeah.
name to Veronica Victoria for participation manager?
Yes.
Or did they come up with a different function for you?
At this point, I don't have a role.
Okay.
So what is Patty? So Victoria is recommended to be participation manager, and Patty, your role is
the therapist.
Okay.
Well, we shouldn't use that word though because
you should just go
well-being
individual coach.
Oh.
High risk.
Okay.
Personal coach. Senior coach. And Dickie, where are you playing? Are you in the camp, Dickie, at all?
I've got it blocked out, but we haven't been assigned a role yet. That hasn't been determined. So I'm available.
I think I know where you can play for us, but I don't know if that's for Bright Futures as the course leaders body. But Ade and I will think about this.
I'm thinking, I don't know how much, Corinne had an opportunity to be in this course and opted out not to. So I'm looking at what's best for the city. I know Corinne has great energy and so forth and some competence. Given the way we are training here, it almost looks like we could put in a request for Patty to be the small group leader.
No, but Patty will be getting more coaching with the young people.
As the
senior coach. Yes.
Okay.
She'll be talking directly
I got
to the
that.
young people.
Okay.
But the other thing that who manages the volunteers, the regular coaches, the junior
that would be Ellen.
Right now it's Ellen.
Ellen Corey, she did it last year. I did that role for years, but last year I was a small group leader, and so Ellen Corey stepped in and did that role at the 11th hour, and
she's going to do it again?
She's going to do it again, and she's going to get some more coaching from Tavo beforehand so that she's more prepared to do the role.
Okay, so
what usually is it? Am I the course leader that goes into the volunteer meetings to support it, or is it Lizette, or either one of? I'm trying to remember here.
I don't think it's normally the volunteer manager that leads that conversation.
Yeah, there's usually not Tabo usually goes to the small group leader manager meeting, but I don't think any course person goes to the mentor meeting. I don't recall that.
In the evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so
well, I know I went in there with Ellen, So there's a moment that I went in there with Ellen. So I'm just thinking that one of you could fulfill on that as the course, as the spokes.
That would be Patty.
That would be Patty as the senior coach.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So does Corinne need coaching?
Corinne or Ellen?
Corinne. To be a small group leader manager. Does she need coaching?
I would say she's pretty competent, but I think she is also welcome. She would appreciate coaching. I want to speak for her, but.
And she was small group leader manager last year already, so she has some experience.
Okay. The person that's the, I'm the one that gave you guys Tavo from the very beginning. So I just wonder if his role is still needed there. Or
yes.
are you guys, it is?
I think so. I mean, I think based on
just trying to figure out to do what.
Tavo is really, he's really great at just bringing fun and energy and humor. But
I understand the fun and energy. I'm talking about the role of functioning as a coach or training people. Is he still needed in those positions?
I wasn't there last year in that role, but I know that when I was there, he was also coaching the participation manager, and I think
I'm just trying to find out something. So we're clear that Corinne had her break. She had already broken into this position
as
coach's manager, and then the other position is participation manager. Who was that? You've been participation manager before? No. Who was that last year?
Lisa.
And if Lisa was there this year, she can coach you. She can train you.
Yes.
See, there are 4 of you now in the city that's being trained and developed. So in some moment, things will be in-house. So where would you need Tavo and to do what? I know it's a lot of fun, but that's not what.
Yeah. Vicki, do you see something?
I think that Tavo, I mean, having been the small group leader manager, I think the feedback and the coaching that he does for the key members of the residential intensive is extremely beneficial.
So would you say that he would be the small group leader manager coach? Who would coach?
I think he's not just a coach. I don't think he's just a coach for that role. I think he's a coach for the participation manager, for the volunteer manager, for everybody. It's not, and also with the youth as well.
Yeah, he did give good feedback. I agree with that. Like it was helpful feedback.
Yeah, that was when you guys needed training. If Tavo wasn't there, would you guys get the job done?
We would get the job done because we have essentially for years, but we get the job done by winging it. That's what San Jose has done. So I would say that Tavo, because we only have one course a year, and because so many of us do a different role all the time, that having Tavo there is useful because like even Corinne, she did the role once last year. She did a good job, but does that mean she's competent to train someone new?
Keyword. What did you just say? That she's what?
Competent?
Yes. This training that you're getting now is increasing your what?
Competence.
Yeah, and what Tavo has brought to the table has been his what?
Competence.
Which allowed him to play and have fun and which you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
The more you move up in competency, the more fun you will have. The more you can bring the aliveness, the joy, the playfulness to the game. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
The Tavo has been a great example of what competence can look like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what it ends up looking like. Playfulness and fun, dance, all of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
What does Bubba do there?
Not anymore.
Oh, he's not there anymore?
Yeah, she was kidding. We've eliminated Bubba. This is not a thing where we are looking for.
Take down the kids.
Right. That true?
Yes, that's true.
Also, part of the competency thing is that Tavo has experience in another city and seeing and so sometimes he'll give feedback and see things that are happening that otherwise we wouldn't have noticed. Like he noticed that more mentors here in the last camp went home early or had something else and how that impacted the youth. And I wasn't present to that till he mentioned it. So I think things like that are still beneficial, but I think as we grow in competency, like we won't rely on that as much, but I think it's been really helpful.
So I
think the year before that.
I have a question though. I have a question that I'm looking at this maybe as a course leader manager, is that I'm aware that Tavo brings competency and can see and train the participation manager, production, all that, because he has all those competencies. So he's totally valuable. I agree. If I'm looking at it from what are we going to tell Tavo he's going to come and do for him to focus, to say, well, we would like you to increase someone's competency in this role, that would be his focus. That's what I'm not clear on, is if Tavo was to come, he brings value, he can help all of us in lots of ways, but is there something that he's clear that he has a job to focus on and do? That's my question. I wasn't.
He's also going through the training with us as course leader, getting his certification.
He's ahead of all of you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if he wanted to come to the course, he could actually co-lead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's ahead of all of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Clearly.
Correct. So that's where, if we were to invite him, would we invite him to come co-lead? We invite him to do production, to train the production team, or this?
Well, he's already co-leading. He does Mondays. He and Lizette.
So,
Okay.
So Ellen would not be, she's not competent to be in that role without a coach. And I could certainly coach her, but I don't know if that's appropriate for me to have two roles there.
Okay, so we're talking about next year beginning to play this year full out to get your competency. So next year is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or if something was to occur and there was a second course added in the year, you would be stepping forward to manage to fulfill those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
You, the four of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving to have the city to be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
And what turns out that even perhaps you guys can come to other cities and help them get it on, like people have come to your city to support you getting.
Like we could do Tavo's role somewhere else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Claudette is saying. You have to be in all those experiences, though, in order to coach somebody in those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could have.
This is good.
So,
And
yeah.
I'm the only person that's not assigned. So if Ellen needs that, that's where we'd look at that. And I know Claudette and Ade are looking at other things that
Yeah, that's yeah. Like you could be Dickie could be assigned to coach
Ellen.
Ellen. You've been a participation manager, right?
Yes.
You could
Coach
support Vicky. I mean, you guys have a lot of resources. Don't count yourselves out of it. Don't count yourself out. But I think I'm gonna ask Sade to have a conversation with Hilda about you guys and what our recommendation to see if she could support your growth and development at camp. So you're just not there. So you're there and to also grow and contribute. Would that be all right with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. I want to tell you about another program that we do to give you another model to look at. And it's called It's About Us. And It's About Us is for middle school kids and their parents. It's basically a 4-month program. And the parent and the young person, they come together to a session. In New York, it happens to be on Saturday, but it's 3 hours. So it could be, after school or in the evenings, but it's a 3-hour session. And the parent, a young person cannot be enrolled and has to be enrolled with a guardian. It could be a grandparent, the guardian that they live with. That's the criteria. And the focus is that all the investment that we give to the mentors and the training and development that we give to the mentors and giving them the tools is we began to see, and then those mentors walk away, whether it's a year or two, that we were really not getting a good return on our investment. Even if 20% of the mentors continue, that's still 80% no return on investment. That stop quickly. And so what we're seeing is that if we could invest that same amount of energy and training and give it to the parents, that there'll be a longer return on investments because the parent is there for the duration of that child's teenage life. And there could be other siblings in the home where the parents can still use these distinctions. Ultimately, if it's large families, like Mexican families are large families, ultimately this program for you guys could turn into a family program where you work with maybe 10 families at a time, but I'm gonna just stay with It's About Us for a moment. So they meet every other week and they do have a coach. We don't call them mentors, we have a coach. And what the curriculum is altered, but it's pretty much the same curriculum plus some other materials that we do from our other programs. And the curriculum is altered that in the 2 weeks between the sessions, there are homework assignments. There are projects that the parents and the young people have to do together. There are homework assignments that they have to do together. They have to establish the conditions of winning together, the conditions of living together. Everything we do, a lot that we do in the courses, they do together and they have assignments. Well, we did the course 2 years ago for the first cohort, and we just had a site visit this past week for a funder to come to see the program if they were blah, 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 blah. And so in doing that, we spoke to the principal and some of the students, 6th graders, now they're 8th graders. And I'm going to tell you, This is the result of a 3-month program. Increase in school attendance. Kids went from all F's to
red marks on the report
card to honor roll. From being in trouble for fighting in school to, and this is 2 years later, these are the results from 2 years later. This is what happening. Much deepened partnership and relationship with the parents. And those are all of the measurements we get from the regular program. And it's much shorter, and it's cost effective, it's cost efficient, and it's a lot of the, the curriculum is slightly different, but that's a program perhaps you guys could invent for Bright Futures, where you guys can lead some of those sessions, and even if you just start with 10 families or 9 families, no, there's 4 of you, 12 families where the work that you're doing now with the person that you're coaching, you'll have 3 families, but I'd like you to know that there's other structures to getting this work done that will still make a permanent transformation to the population. It doesn't have to take, you don't have to stay with them forever.
Or recruit mentors, because the mentors come as parents.
Yep.
But you still would have to recruit coaches to do the homework with the parents.
Yes, and we recruited the coaches from past mentors.
That's right.
So they were already trained.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to be over.
Okay.
2 minutes.
So I like it, and we could talk more about that. For this week, for this month, you will not have a video assignment.
Yay!
Yeah, we're giving you a little break. We'll be back next month, and we will continue to work on who comes to the game, the player, the opponent, the referee, winning at losing. You guys know all of those terms, but how do you create the delivery for it? So what you may get, this is a May, what you may get before we do our next session is the video of that. When is our next session?
November 11th, right?
Oh, okay. So I was hoping it was after the 19th, because that's when we do our course and we could just video real stuff, like how it's really going down in the classroom. But it's not until the week after. So that's us for today. And I like us to, everyone just, we're over a little bit, but I like to hear your favorite, what you're going to take from today, more than one word. Just would like everyone to say something, and then we'll close. We'll start with you, Bonnie.
All right, I don't know how much you guys want to hear, but what I'm thinking about is, like, in terms of making San Jose sustainable, like, what am I going to even do planning for next year? Because I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I should be a participation manager. Maybe I should be the high risk senior coach or something. So maybe this year at camp, even though I'm committed to being an SGL, I already made that commitment, I can maybe like kind of pay attention and shadow and see what the participation managers are doing, like pay attention, so that next year I can maybe do that role. So I'm thinking about that. What else? I mean, that was just the last thing I had.
That's good.
Yeah. One thing I'm actually, I felt makes things a little confusing was when we were talking about who comes to the game, adding the trainer. To me, that's a little confusing because when are they on the court and when are they off of the court? So I feel like we're kind of saying like at camps they're on the court, and then
I'm saying the
community
is not on the court.
Neither are the coaches.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's why I don't see the difference really. I feel like
coaches
isn't it all?
The coaches don't bring forth distinctions and tools.
The coaches use the distinctions and tools. They do not bring them forth. They do not teach new distinctions nor new tools. The coaches use what's already been trained.
Okay, and then the trainers are the ones that introduce the new tools.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that helps. It helps if I think about it that way. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica, Victoria.
I'd say probably definitely, actually you just touched on it right now, but really listening to people in general, everywhere, every interaction I have, listening to the distinctions, listening for them, and really creating conversation that is inquisitive, and really trying to help people go from, or for myself as well, going from inside out and getting to know them for who they are. And through that practice, being able to really focus on the continuation of being a course leader. And speaking in all kinds of different accents.
Thank you. Hattie?
Well, first of all, I'm really happy to hear about your It's About Us model. I think that it was kind of a shift for me to go, oh yeah, of course, investing in mentors that's huge, and it is transformative of our communities. But you're right that they just, for the most part, they leave. And as a result of today, I'm more committed than ever, I think, to finding a way to bring these tools into our classrooms, because that is another source of long-term transformation. You know, just you talking about It's About Us reminded me about, oh yeah, how can we embed this work in relationships that are ongoing and renewing, constantly renewing and deepening.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yeah, listening from a distinction helps map a conversation and brings a lot of clarity and simplicity to what I do and also what I'm listening to.
Yes.
Good.
Wow, you just demonstrated it, Matt.
Yes.
Because you normally use a lot of words. That was short. That's great. My recommendation to you guys is to meet with Hilda. Don't become outside of the organization. Meet with her like you're the senior counsel. Those new people on staff are really new people, like kids. Like you're the senior counsel looking for the longevity and the health of the organization. And so meet with her and share what you're seeing and what could be possible for bright futures. Even if you want to bring up It's About Us, for bright futures to expand and do things that are that doesn't require It's About Us requires 1/4 of the money.
I don't recommend.
Wow.
You include Abby in those, who seems to be the heir apparent to the director of the program.
Yeah, I think that Hilda seems to be stepping back quite a bit, so, and putting Abby in the front.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. I enjoyed it so much. It's like on the break, I go, we're really doing really good work. I love this. I love this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You got something to say?
Thank you.
Shay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Love you, everybody.
Thank you.
And that you're holding today may be the hand that said you like tomorrow. Get to where you're going safely and hug yourself now. Yeah! Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.